jockey for position in the MPL and the playoffs. And in our game of the week, the 2-2 Federal Hocking Lancers head to Millersport in search of their first winning record since 2019.
Gridiron Glory starts right now!
Welcome back. It is once again time to discuss what happened under the Friday night lights. So buckle up for this week's journey across Southeast Ohio. I'm your host, Haley Hollinger, and tonight our first stop is in Colgrove, where the Trojans took on the Hornets tonight for a tense OVC matchup. And joining us now is reporter Lucy Schaefer, who was at the game.
Haley, I'm great, and so were these teams coming into this matchup today. Both teams won again their first in-conference game last week by a total of 77 points. And the secret to it, their running backs, Portsmouth's Chase Highland and Colgrove's Caden Murphy. Now, Murphy has racked up 618 yards and 9 touchdowns, averaging 9.5 yards per carry. The All-District and All-OVC player has led his team on a 3-game win streak so far and looking to add a 4th. And you've heard about Highland's dominance so far this season, but let me re-emphasize. The senior has 521 yards, averaging 130 yards per game. So let's see if these two lived up to that hype. And Haley, I think I have your GG Player of the Year right here. This is Benny. He was running water out to the refs during breaks, making sure everybody had what they needed. But let's do what he would have wanted and get right into that game action. A slow start for both teams, but Portsmouth strikes first. JT Williams for the Trojans taking that ball and saying, actually, I'll do it myself. 25 yards to the house, and you might want to remember that name for later. And by later, I actually mean right now. Portsmouth back on offense early in the second quarter, and it's Williams again. This time a 35-yard run, absolutely untouchable as he sprints into the end zone, making the score 14-0 Trojans. And with Colgrove silent, guess who's back? None other than Williams, wanting to pass but trusting himself. That's 65 yards for the senior quarterback and 3 rushing touchdowns in the first half. And in case you didn't know, there he is right there telling you. And I hope you didn't forget about Chase Highland either. This play came right after a penalty that called a big run of his back, but he made sure to make it stick, dodging 7 Hornets, one of them twice, for a 35-yard touchdown. This was the second of his 2 touchdowns in the second half. Now with Colgrove unable to capitalize on plays or respond, Portsmouth stands on business and takes this one 34-0. And Haley, from what you and I both saw out there, there were 2 clear team leaders for Portsmouth out there.
Yeah, obviously not what we're expecting to see. So what worked for Portsmouth tonight?
So I think it's a matter of who worked for them, actually. Williams and Highland combined for 361 yards and 5 touchdowns. With Highland's speed and Williams' patience, the Trojans asserted themselves as a contender for that OVC title. No wonder Highland was so tired after he scored that second touchdown.
Yeah, what went wrong for Colgrove?
What they were doing became pretty familiar to the Trojans after 2 drives at the beginning, rushing straight through the line every single time. Murphy was getting those gains, but the Trojan defense could read where he was going and stopped him before he got too far. Colgrove also had 8 penalties on the night, and the Trojans took advantage of those little mistakes.
So how can the Hornets bounce back?
They need to clean up those little mistakes like those penalties and a fumble that we saw in the second half. That's really important, especially as they start to make their way through conference play. Now the Hornets will stay at home and look to recover against Gallia Academy, while Portsmouth will stay on the road and travel to Chesapeake.
Wow, thanks Lucy, get back safe. Now the next must-see of our trip, Vinton County and Athens. Tonight these two dug their cleats into the Athens soil in the pursuit of a top spot in the conference. And now I've got reporter Jack Swinski here with me. And Jack, this is an early determinant game.
That's right, Haley. The Bulldogs are feeling the loss of Alex Piro and Weston Wheatley, who are top performers for this team, especially during this tight-knit race for the top of the TVC-Ohio. Alex Piro and Weston Wheatley were both out, so Anthony Sutton stepped up as the Bulldogs' starting running back. We're going to jump ahead to the end of the first quarter. The Bulldogs are up 7-0. Athens started to string together a drive before flipping the ball to Anthony Sutton, who rides the sidelines in on his way for a 51-yard touchdown to put Athens up 2 scores. Starting off the second quarter, Daniel Heitland takes it 63 yards before Leo Martin pops in for 6, 21-0 Athens. Let's fast forward about 7 minutes of game time as Braden Young gives Anthony Sutton the ball, and that's his third house call of the night. The Bulldogs end the half up 28-0 over the Vikings. At the start of the third quarter, the Bulldogs wanted to continue pulling ahead as Braden Young catches Leo Martin on the slant, just barely getting his hands on the ball before turning on the Jets and leaving the Vikings in the dust behind him. This would put the game on a running clock. Vinton County would get the ball back and find their way into the end zone for a final score of 35-7 Athens.
So earlier we talked about Pirro and Wheatley, but it seems like the Bulldogs didn't skip a beat.
Yeah, if there's anything this Athens team is going to do, it's run that football. In Pirro and Wheatley's absence, Anthony Sutton converted from receiver to running back and stepped up big time with 3 rushing touchdowns in the first half. This Bulldogs offensive line was moving the D-line around at will, simply parting the Vikings defense like the Red Sea.
And keep in mind, the Vikings team lost 18 seniors last year, so what did you see out of them tonight?
This Vinton County team is still looking for their footing. This is a team that's showing flashes, but they weren't able to build momentum against a dominant Bulldog linebacking squad with Seth Hart, Brady Warren, and Luke Kaiser. These 3 were all over the field and making it difficult for the Vikings running back Clayton Lester, who lined up under center tonight.
So it sounds like the Bulldogs did not come to play tonight. This was a big conference matchup, where's everybody sitting right now?
This game was massive for the conference, and let's take a look at the race to the top of the TVC-Ohio. Athens is at the top of the TVC-Ohio at 2-0 in conference play. Right on their tail is a tie between Wellston and Nelsonville York, as both the Golden Rockets and Buckeyes are 1-0. Following the number 2 and 3 spot is yet another tie between Meigs and Vinton County, who are both 1-1 against TVC-Ohio teams. Sitting at 6 and 7 are River Valley and Alexander, which are both 0-2 in the conference. As we head further into the season, this conference may shift around a little more. It'll be exciting to see the final standings.
I'd say there's still enough time for both teams to make their mark. Thanks, Jack. Ironton may be a bit far from Athens, but we went ahead and made a pit stop there anyway. For this week's Fan of the Week, did the Fighting Tigers show out?
What are you guys here today?
I want to see Sean Terry and Caden Edwards.
Who's your favorite player on this squad?
Sean Terry.
Sean Terry?
Sean Terry.
No questions asked.
No question.
Who's your favorite player on the squad? Sean Terry.
Sean Terry!
Who's your favorite player?
Sean Terry!
Why is that?
He's so good, he's so fast, and he scores most of the touchdowns.
Okay.
It's just that.
Okay, all right, okay.
Are you ready for the Tigers? Cause we are ready for you.
Yep.
Who do you think's gonna win?
Tigers!
Tigers? Why?
Because this is our hometown!
Because what?
This is our hometown!
It's Ironton! Acknowledge them! They are the tribe of tree!
What?
So since you just talked so highly of your team and you're so expressive and excited, we decided to make you Gridiron Glory's Fan of the Week, dude.
Thank you.
Are you excited? Yes.
Yes!
That's it.
Yeah!
So you've seen the fans, but let's get into the game. Bishop Hartley made their way to the Fighting Tigers front gates for somewhat of an unorthodox matchup. I mean, these two have only met 5 times before, so reporter Ashley Fry is here to give us the rundown on everything Hawks and Tigers.
Yeah, Haley, Ironton and Bishop Hartley are 2 dynamic Ohio football programs, winning their past 2 games by a combined 205 points. But to really understand the magnitude of this matchup, we have to understand who these teams are. To say Ironton has dominated this season would be an understatement. They took down Week 1 rival Wheelersburg, winning 37-7, and Week 2 they played Jackson, outscoring them 51-14. Week 3 they beat Cabell Midland by 56 points, and last week they beat the number 9 team out of the state of New York by 37 points. That's an average margin of victory of 40 points a game. But don't forget about Bishop Hartley. While they make the trip from Columbus, they are not new to Southeast Ohio football. They beat New Lexington 48-13 in 2022, but in 2023 fell to Sheridan and Bloom Carroll. Yet so far this season, they have been rolling. They're ranked 3rd in Region 11 and are scoring 36 points per game. Haley, while Hartley currently holds a 4-1 series lead on Ironton, 2013 was the last time these 2 teams met. A lot can change in 11 years. Let's see how this one turned out. There was not an open seat in the Tanks Memorial Stadium tonight, and let me show you why. Right off the bat, Ironton showing exactly who they are as Braden Schreck tosses to Sean Terry, and then Sean Terry with a 25-yard pass to Tyler Roach. If he didn't already do enough, let's add quarterback to Terry's resume. This play set Zane Williams up to fight his way through the Hawks defenders into the end zone for a Tiger touchdown on their opening drive, 6-0 Ironton. Next Ironton possession, and it's Zane Williams again dodging a tackle while catching a pass, says bye to the Hawks defender and takes that ball all the way to the Hartley 5-yard line, and he just won't go down. Call him Zane Brick Wall Williams. Next play, Ironton attempts to run their trick play back. Schreck to Caden Edwards, and Edwards right into the hands of Hartley's Jamari Stokes for an interception. But Schreck says no more of that in my swamp, because next Tigers possession, there he goes with a 25-yard dime to Nick Sykes for a touchdown. 13-0 Ironton heading into the half, and this momentum would keep going as the Ironton Tigers take this one 41-0. That score really speaks for itself. Another incredible performance by the Ironton Fighting Tigers, but what went into this win is absolutely something we have to talk about.
I'd say so, and despite such a high final score, 13-0 at the half is a surprisingly slow start for such a highly anticipated game. So what went into that score delay?
Yeah, while we have talked consistently about Ironton's offense all season long, I have to give the credit to their defense tonight. They shut Hartley's run game down all night long, and this took a toll on the Hawks because they are a ground-heavy team. Ironton's front seven is ridiculously persistent and incredibly disciplined, and so are the boys on the outside, notably DB Josh Johnson. It seemed like every other play his name was being said. He was a force for the Tiger defense and a huge contributor.
And when Hartley did make it to the red zone, it seems that they struggled to punch it in.
I mean, Ironton's defense just wouldn't let them. This is a bend, not break kind of team. When the pressure is on, that's when the Tigers thrive the most. This game makes 5 straight wins for Ironton and another dominant performance against an established program. I don't want to get ahead of myself, but this is a team built for the postseason. They are averaging 50 points a game. They play like a well-oiled machine. To put it simply, they are dangerous. I have absolutely no doubt that this is a team we will be seeing soon and for a very long time.
I mean, if you could take down the Hawks, then the limit might be a little more than sky high. Thanks, Ashley. There's still a lot more to see, and here to help us make sure we can cover as much ground as we can is digital host Donovan Varney. Donovan?
Yeah, that's right, Haley. We've got some more football to talk tonight, so we've sent reporters out to 5 additional games, and well, I'll give you guys a scoop. It's time for the extra point. Let's kick things off at Rock Hill, where they hosted South Point tonight. And speaking of kickoff, an onside kick recovery to start the game would give Rock Hill just the momentum they needed for this touchdown right here. And don't worry, South Point answers back with the toss-up right through the defender's hands, and he gets 6 of his own. Here's Rock Hill again. Number 26 puts his head down from a couple yards out for another Red Men score. Rock Hill handles business at home and takes this one 41-20. Now heading over to the SOC Northwest at Minford's homecoming, and the Mohawks came to crash the party. They would strike first on the ground. Carter Runyon from 6 yards out, high steps on in for the first score of the game. And I hope Runyon stretched because he breaks loose here. Down the sideline and past a flock of Falcons. Yeah, I'll see you, big fella. Northwest gets their first win against Minford in 14 years with a final score of 35-14. Up next, we've got a TVC matchup between Alexander and Wellston. Here come the Golden Rockets out of the tunnel and, well, right into the end zone, it seems. That's running back Josh Johnson, head down, full steam ahead, into the end zone for 6 quick ones. A couple drives later, Kyle Fott channels his inner OBJ, reaching back like 1-3 for the one-handed tutty, extending the Golden Rocket lead. Here is quarterback Johnny Scott. There he goes, and Scott and the Golden Rockets finish on top, 38-14. All right, y'all, strap up because here come the Pioneers. Zane Trace steals the first points of the game here with Bryce Johnson, who's somewhere under that pile, sneaking into the end zone from 1 yard out. Piketon responds also from 1 yard out with a little QB sneak, and shout out the big boys up front for the blocking there. Here's Bryce Johnson again, down the sideline and reaching for the pylon. They'll go ahead and count it for 6. Pioneers up 13-6. Zane Trace will squeeze by against the Red Streaks, winning 23-20. As you can see here, our last game of the night was for a good cause, and they delivered on the gridiron. Here's Circleville quarterback Hudson Phelan keeping the ball on the read option and muscling through a wall of Amanda Clear Creek defenders. Yeah, that's a big man score. Tigers up 6. Circleville delivers again, but this time on defense. A blocked punt gives the Tigers a ball in the red zone, and you guessed it, they cashed in. Despite a fiery start for Circleville, the Aces had the upper hand, winning this one 33-26. That's all we got for the extra point today, but we do have more digital content on the pregame huddle throughout the week, so don't forget to check that out. But Haley, I think we got some more games to cover.
Thanks, Donovan. We've got a couple more dots to hit tonight, so let's go to New Lexington, where the Panthers took on Tri-Valley in their 58th consecutive meeting. Reporter Stephen Caroli is here now. And Stephen, the length of the series is not the only impressive thing about this game.
Yeah, Haley, this MVL cross-conference matchup features two explosive offenses. Through 4 games, they've combined for over 2,800 yards and 41 touchdowns so far this season. And in a big game like this, the Stars need to keep shining on both offenses. Firstly, New Lex, take a look at the ball from Isaiah Stevens and check out the wheels by Bentley Hansen. See ya. This duo has already combined for over 1,400 yards and 19 touchdowns. For the Scotties, first-team All-State quarterback Max Lyle has thrown for over 750 yards and 12 tutties. His counterpart and fellow first-team All-State selection, Jaden Wallace, has hit pay dirt 4 times this year. The winner of this one puts the 7-4-0 on notice, no doubt about it. If you fall short, a perfect season slips out of your hands. Not to mention, a win would seriously help when it comes to playoff seeding. Now let's get straight into it with some trickery. Wallace tosses it back to Lyle, and he's going to launch this one as Ryan LaMonica makes the catch and then recovers his own fumble for the huge gain. Couple plays later, and it's Lyle right back to LaMonica. A perfect ball right on the pylon, and it's 6-0 Scotties. Next Tri-Valley drive, 3rd and 8, and Lyle lets it fly, but call Bentley Hansen Control-Shift-W the way he's closing all windows. Tri-Valley would punt, but recover, setting them up in the red zone. A couple plays later, and when you see a freight train approaching, get off the tracks. Jaden Wallace is just getting started as he flexes in the end zone, 13-0 Tri-Valley. Another stop from the Scotties defense, and Lyle drops back and delivers again to Ryan LaMonica. He would be dragged down in the red zone a couple plays later, and this is simply weight room talk. How does he get into the end zone here? The world may never know, but man, it's fun to watch. 21-0 Tri-Valley. New Lex would get on the board as Isaiah Stevens fakes out the defense and throws to Paul Stenson for 6. But in the end, an all-around dominant performance from the Scotties as they win 41-14 over the Panthers. Haley, this Scotties team is definitely legit, and they showed it tonight.
It definitely seems like it, so let's go ahead and dive in a little more. And the Scotties offense seemed unstoppable tonight, so why was that?
All phases of the offense tonight, Haley, were firing on all cylinders. Before we get into it, I want to highlight the offensive line of Tri-Valley. They opened holes for the ground and gave time to Max Lyle all game long. Speaking of Lyle, he was fantastic tonight. He threw the ball to beautiful spots, and players such as Ryan LaMonica and Keaton Hahn made big plays receiving. But Jaden Wallace was unreal on the ground tonight. Angry run after angry run, and he really had a magnetic connection to the end zone.
And on the other side of the ball, Tri-Valley was able to stop a scary New Lex offense. How?
What I realized tonight is how elite the pass rush is for the Scotties. Players such as Chris Gargas, Gavin Spiker, and Ashton Winter were getting into the backfield all night long. But Jaden Wallace was a strong defense. Yeah, Haley, this was a great game. I'm really excited for the future when we'll keep tabs on both of these teams, especially when it comes around playoff time.
Absolutely, Stephen. Thanks so much. And if you find yourself wanting more football when the show ends, have no fear. We're adding content like photos, recaps, and highlights to our Instagram, Facebook, X, TikTok, and YouTube. And don't forget about the pregame huddle segments throughout the week for preview segments on our Showtime games. If it's SEO football you're looking for, we've got it. Okay, time to turn off the devices and lock in because we're heading to John Glenn where the Little Muskies took on Sheridan. Throughout the past few weeks, I'm sure you've heard mentionings of playoffs, and Andrew Bowlby is here with me now to talk about this week's implications.
Haley, I know it's only week 5, but we already have to start talking about playoffs. Sheridan has made the postseason in the last 6 seasons. John Glenn has made it in 6 of the last 6 seasons. But because of the depth in Region 11, both of these teams are in danger of missing out on the playoffs. 23 of the 27 schools in this region entered the week with a 2-2 record or better. This likely means that a team will finish at 6-4 and still miss out on the playoffs. The Generals enter week 4 with just a 17% chance to make the playoffs, and without a win this week, that odds almost drops to 0. For the Little Muskies, they are in a bit of a better spot because of their 3-1 start, but a loss this week still drops their chances to only 15%. Now it's homecoming weekend in John Glenn, so you know a big crowd was on hand for this massive MVL game. Sheridan has the ball on their opening possession, and Tice Whiteman, looking around, will fire to the end zone. However, Evan Anderson just can't hold on to it, forcing a field goal for the Generals. On the ensuing kickoff, Muskies running back Reese Metzer grabs the ball and takes off. He slides right and eludes the kicker. He's gone. That's 90 yards to the house, giving John Glenn a 7-3 lead. Let's skip ahead to the beginning of the second quarter, and on the opening play, the Muskies are showing a little bit of trickeration, but Evan Anderson is having none of it. He goes up and takes the ball away from Ryder Pennington, General's ball. Now, after being stopped on third down, Coach Culver rolls the dice and decides to go for it on 4th and 7. Whiteman scrambling around and tosses it downfield. Connor Roshan comes down with it for a massive conversion. A few plays later, the Generals pay it off. Luke Link dives in to retake the lead for Sheridan, and the Generals back on defense. And what's better than one Evan Anderson interception? How about 2? Anderson cuts the route and takes it away for his second pick of the half. Now, Haley, unfortunately, we missed out on some of the biggest moments from this game. John Glenn entered the fourth down by 10, but there were no quit in the Muskies. They stormed back to force overtime and tie the game. Sheridan got the score plus the stop in the extra period, hanging on to win 23-17. What a game. And we know how important it was for later in the season, so both teams clearly left it all out on the line.
Yeah, we knew coming in that there were some questions about Sheridan's quarterback room. So what did it look like tonight?
Well, Tice Whiteman and Logan Hupp had been splitting some series through the first couple of weeks, but Whiteman was the full starter tonight. Sure, there were some concerns about his turnover problems with 5 interceptions through the first 4 weeks, but he looked a lot more patient tonight. He was willing to take what the defense gives him. If he was open in the passing game, he would make a pass. If he needed to tuck the ball and run, that's exactly what he would do. Now, you have to know, this is a run-focused offense, but when they need to come up with it, they came up with passes from Whiteman.
So let's move to the other side of the ball. Sheridan's defense allows less than 170 total yards per game. How did John Glenn fare against that group?
Well, coming into this week, John Glenn had the highest points per game scoring offense in their school's history at over 41 points per game. Aside from that kickoff return we showed you earlier, though, there were just no explosive plays. The run game was kind of stuck in neutral. Sheridan was swarming to the ball, and for the most part, they just couldn't get anything to work, and that ended up with them falling short and shaking up all the playoff odds. With the Generals now getting the win, they're up to 71% to make the playoffs, while John Glenn is just down to 15%.
Thanks, Andrew. And speaking of percentages, it's time to see how you all voted at home. It was almost half and half, but the majority of you were in favor of John Glenn. No worries if you need a little redemption. Just remember to vote on our Instagram story next Thursday at 7. And you have one more shot tonight with Federal Hocking at Millersport. The grand majority of you guessed that the Lancers would bring it home, so let's go ahead and see. The Lancers and the Lakers don't have much history between them, but they do share an oddly specific thing in common. And reporter Maddie Kiefer is joining us now to tell us all about it.
Haley, both of these small communities have gone without a football team in recent years. And this week, we attended practices at both schools to see how these squads have rebounded from a rough history.
For two small-town schools with similar histories, Federal Hocking and Millersport, huddles are happening for the first time in a while.
1, 2, 3, 4, Lancers! 4, 5, 6, family!
In recent years, both the Lancers and Lakers went on hiatus due to low numbers. After not playing a full season from 2017 to 2021, Federal Hocking didn't have a team in 2022. And Millersport took a lengthy 3-year break from 2018 to 2020. Part of this can be attributed to how small these communities are. Both schools have roughly 250 students, meaning fielding a team can be hard.
There's a lot of little schools that are going through the same thing, and I mean, all schools are fighting with different things. It's just everyone's working through what they can.
But Lancers head coach Cody Mason sees the positives of inexperience.
The guys are like, oh, I've never played before. And in my opinion, that doesn't matter. That just makes it a little bit easier to teach you.
If Federal Hocking takes this win against the Lakers, they will have their first winning record since week 1 of 2019.
Everyone in this community loves it. And they're getting excited. Whether I get heckled from the stands or not, I mean, that shows that, you know, the culture is going back to winning. That's how it's supposed to be.
3 weeks ago, Millersport got their first win in over 1,000 days, beating Van Loo 52-12. And that win has inspired confidence throughout the Lakers locker room.
It's no longer a pushover game. It used to be we'd get calls every day of the week. Everyone wants to play Millersport because it's a guaranteed win, and those have slowed way down.
Haley, now that the past has been hashed out, it's clear as day that this is an extremely important game for both of these teams.
Absolutely. So let's get into it.
Yeah, Haley, everyone was ready in Millersport. To start it off, the Lakers made it down to their 10-yard line, but called them fed lock because Brady Rudder was there to knock it down. Doesn't he play quarterback? Lancers ball. Now sit back and relax, ladies and gentlemen, because this next play is insane. Quarterback Brody Rudder steps back, looks and launches to Gabe Bray in triple coverage, and he is going. Who are we kidding, Haley? He's gone. 6-0 Lancers. Millersport would make the most of a Rudder interception when quarterback Jacob Eichinger would throw a long ball. Can we pause right there? Look at that separation. Nick Yingling would finally punch one in for the Lakers after the extra 2, 8-6 Millersport. Fed Hawk needed a hero, and they put their trust into Ty Walker, and oh my goodness, Haley, there he goes after a missed tackle into the red zone. This would set up for another Lancers touchdown, this time into the hands of Elijah Scott, giving Fed Hawk the lead going into the half, 12-8. The Lakers would complete the comeback win in the second half, though, taking this one 30-20. After the game, we talked to Coach Trinish about what this win means to the program.
Emotional, very happy for these young men. We challenge them a little bit more every week like we talked about. We turn the screws up. We just talked about when you win, you got to work even harder. And they've done that. They're maturing. They're taking accountability.
Maddie, it seems like that win is something Millersport needed. So what was the difference maker in this game?
Both teams look good out there, but that Laker run game was on a different level. The Lakers ran the ball perfectly, getting extra yards out of dire situations, which allowed them to score extra points and ultimately win this one.
So obviously Millersport was partial to the run game. Did Fed Hawk mirror that, or did they prefer the air attack?
If the Lakers were running, the Lancers were throwing, and there is a new man in town for Fed Hawk, Gabe Bray. Bray had 162 yards on 6 receptions and 2 touchdowns. He is on track to be a standout for the Lancers.
We talked about the good, but let's talk about the bad.
Haley, you can't talk about this game without mentioning the missed opportunities for points. In their first possession, the Lakers were stopped on 4th down, and then they missed a field goal, leaving 10 points in the rear view in just the first half. I haven't even mentioned Fed Hawk yet, as they missed 2 2-point conversions, and Brody Rudder threw an interception that resulted in 8 points for Millersport. If you want to win games, Haley, mistakes like this must be avoided. Haley, it's been so great to watch these two teams improve every week. We are excited to see where they go from here.
Thanks, Maddie. We're going to see where they go, but we're going to go ahead and take a look at the Jersey Showdown. Round 2 for sides A and B closed this week, but on Monday and Tuesday, the second round of voting starts for side C. And side D voting is going to be on Wednesday and Thursday, so go ahead and turn on those Twitter notifications right now so you don't miss out. Rejoining me now is Donovan, because tonight it's going to take 2 to tackle these top 5 plays.
Yeah, the plays this week were too good, Haley. I had to get on these with you.
Well, let's get into it.
We're coming in hot with a clip from Tri-Valley, New Lexington.
Donovan, it's hard to believe this is number 5.
Yeah, and it's also hard to stop Jaden Wallace in the red zone.
I don't think that guy knew what hit him, so it's a good thing we're showing it again.
With power like that, I can see how Tri-Valley took the dub tonight.
So let's keep going down the docket.
Number 4 comes from Portsmouth versus Cole Grove game, and here's a quarterback that can run.
JT Williams hits him with the, fine, I'll do it myself, and he trucks for 65 yards.
That's a house call, Haley. Way to move, big guy.
Number 3, we're taking it back to New Lex.
That's right. You guys remember this guy. Jaden Wallace is a machine.
Yeah, a bulldozer. I mean, what are they feeding this guy?
I don't know, but I need to find out because my goodness. Okay, time for numero dos.
Minford and Northwest. Although the Falcons didn't win, they were still making plays.
And Hicks.
Ooh, he tipped it to himself?
Yes, ma'am, he did. How about giving yourself the assist there? What a play.
What a perfect lead-in to our very top play from the night from our game of the week, too.
Haley, we knew the Lancers meant business, but I didn't know they were moving like this.
Send an army, it don't matter. The motion is the same, and Gabriel Bray is on his way.
Untouched, unbothered, and into the end zone for 6.
Donovan, that was a fantastic top 5 plays to round out our week 5. I mean, wow.
Yeah, those were pretty elite. That last one, I see exactly why it came in at number 1. Oh, yeah. But make sure you guys tune in. We got some, we got some social content for you. We got the pregame huddle. You guys are not going to want to miss any of our digital content throughout the week. So make sure you stay tuned for that next week.
And of course, we got our Jersey Showdown, and you got our fan vote throughout the week as well. So make sure you're looking at that as well, because voting on that is a lot of fun, and we love hearing from you guys.
That's right.
So that does it for week 5, but we can't wait to see you for week 6, because there's nothing better than Friday nights and Gridiron Glory.